Hello, English 101 students. This is Rebecca Warfield, your instructor, and this video is going to go over Module 2, so we'll get right to it. If you head over here into your modules, we can jump into Module 2, and just so you know, things might look a little bit different on my end than yours because I have different permissions and settings from the instructor side, so don't worry so much about all this stuff over here. It should look as it should on your end. So we'll go through step by step. The overview here, just note that we have a discussion. Your original prompt, your original response to the prompt is due on Wednesday. The responses to each other are due on Friday. And then we also have an assignment 1 deadline, which is due on Sunday. Make sure that you schedule into your calendars that these are due at 11:59 p.m. on the corresponding due date. So make sure that you aren't running late and you get everything turned in on time because there are no opportunities for late work. The to-do list here, we'll go through this step by step. So make sure you read all assignments, including the scanned readings from Everything's an Argument and the assigned readings from the textbook. Make sure you watch video 2 for discussion 2. Review the essay assignment. Please note that the essay is not due, but it is time to start thinking about it. Also, you'll need to watch the Room for Debate tutorial. This was created by my colleague Megan Blumenthal, so that's why it doesn't sound like me, because it's not me. And then explore Room for Debate. The links are below. I'll show you that here shortly. And then choose an essay topic from Room for Debate and begin to read, reread, and annotate related articles from the site. And then, of course, complete the discussion board and the Module 2 assignment. Moving into the readings. We have some scanned readings from Everything's an Argument. You can access them by clicking the links. So chapters 2, 3, and 4 are here, and each one has a link. You can click that. They will open up. I don't know what the orientation will be when you open it up, but on my end, it needs to be rotated. So you can click the rotate button, and that should put it in a position for you to read a little more easily. I do recommend that you print this out and read it. Use, your highlighter, your pens, annotate, ask questions, jot things down, write down definitions, really interact with this. So that way, if you have questions, A, you can write them down and remember to ask me, but B, then you can also start engaging with this material a little more thoroughly. You're not required to print them out necessarily since this is an online class. I can't, make you bring your book to class necessarily, so to speak, but I do recommend that you print these out. So you have chapters 2, 3, and 4 here, and then you also have your primary text book selections from that, Bad Pharma on page 266 and Easter's End on page 25. Here's the link for your discussion board video here. That's also available below. And then a little information about your essay-related readings. So please review the prompt, guidelines, and rubric for the essay assignment. You can find all of these down here at the bottom of your module. You can also find this information if you go to Start Here and you go to the course documents and information, you can access this information here. So you can look at it however way you want. I find that the easiest way to access things is in the module themselves, but it is in both places in case you need it. Review the prompt, guidelines, and rubric for the corresponding draft and peer review assignment. That is also located in Start Here. So if you head over to Start Here and you click into course documents, you can see the peer editing checklist. So that is available for you also. Moving back into the module. You'll need to watch the Room for Debate tutorial. Again, that's by my colleague Megan Blumenthal. You can click this link to access that. There is a little note here that this tutorial is from a different section of English 101 that used MLA style. All other video content is accurate to this specific essay assignment. But because of that, when you hear Megan say MLA style, just remember that we are using APA. We're using APA in this class because it is what is used in your specific field. So please make sure that when you hear her say MLA, you are accounting for APA. Then you can hop over into Room for Debate and begin exploring debates about which you may write your essay. You can click this link here, and that will take you right into Room for Debate. and you can look through these. Some of these are a little bit older, so you can look through them. I encourage you to find things that are a little more relevant in terms of time, right? This is February 2017, which is actually hard to believe, but that's a long time ago. So this is a place for you to start finding information about specific topics. However, you are also welcome to look into these a little bit more thoroughly in more current conversations. So as we get closer into the actual writing of the essay, we'll talk about that more. This is just a starting point. We'll head back over into our module. You'll need to choose a topic or a debate for your essay and then begin to read, reread, and annotate the debaters in these articles. So again, you don't need to actually write anything right now, but you do need to select a topic and you do need to start reading about it. We can talk a little bit more about your paper as we move through the module together here. And this is your discussion too. Again, you always have your original response and then the responses to each other. I'm not going to go through this verbatim, but you can read through this, watch Dan Cohen's video, and then complete the discussion board assignment. And then we'll head into Module 2 assignment. So to access this, you can click here in Rhetorical Analysis. You will most certainly need to read chapters 2, 3, and 4 before completing this assignment. So after you've read that, you can head on over into this document. This document serves as a worksheet, so you'll be actually doing the work in this sheet. So once you download that, you can begin to work on it. And I'm going to go through the overview and directions with you verbatim here. Good readers make better writers. As such, part of refining our writing skills requires reading other people's work. I swear I have fixed this typo twice now. I don't know how it keeps getting back in there. To examine how other people put language together to create informative, creative works provides insight to how we too can craft language to create interesting, scholarly, and persuasive work. So in other words, one way that we learn to be better writers is to read other people's work. You know, of course, it's always good to write to become a better writer, but reading also helps. I think about this in terms of, say, something like yoga. I don't know if you guys know this. I am also a full-time yoga teacher. And of course, doing more yoga can make you a better yogi. You can learn how to do the postures better by actually doing yoga. But also, it's often very helpful to study yoga, right? To look at pictures of people doing the postures, have teachers talk to you about how to do the postures. So it's not just about always doing, it's also about studying. So here we're going to study other people's writing to inform our own writing. So moving on to do this, it is important that we examine the parts that make up the whole. In other words, rather than just reading someone else's work, we have to critically evaluate and analyze the craft to understand how it is structured and designed. So let's think of this like cake, because cake is delicious. At first glance, a cake is just a cake, right? It just looks like a piece of dessert. But if we examine the recipe, we can find that it's made with very specific and carefully measured ingredients. And when they're combined, they create the whole cake. So argument, though not as delicious, is the same, whether it's written, spoken, audible, or visual. It's the careful construction of the individual parts that create the whole argument. So we're looking at the list of ingredients here to speak in metaphor. So to begin this examination, we will look at various texts or arguments through the lens of rhetorical appeals. Sorry about this typo. I think I fixed that one twice too. I must have forgotten to save it. Through the lens of rhetorical appeals, ethos, logos, and pathos. So please fill out this sheet below to explain how each rhetorical appeal is used and provide a supporting quote for each text. You should frame your explanation about the rhetorical appeal as a full sentence that includes the rhetorical appeal used, highlight this in yellow please, and your argument about it, please highlight this in blue. In other words, this isn't just about noting that the rhetorical appeal is used. I don't want you to think about this, you know, there's that game when you're a little kid where you take the triangle block and you put it in the triangle hole, and you take the square block and you put it in the square hole. We're not thinking about it like that so much. Instead, we're looking at how it's used and what that does to create meaning. So yes, we have to identify it, but then we have to take that another step or two further and discuss how it's used and what that does. Um, and the reason why this is important is because we want to really begin examining the parts of writing and how they operate within the whole argument. So that way we become a little more skillful in using similar strategies to strengthen our own arguments. Just a little hint here, to fully determine the credibility, logic, and emotional appeals of each piece, you might have to do a little outside research. Sometimes we need to know more about the author, we need to fact check some of the facts and such. So you might have to do a little bit of outside research to make sure that you too are being credible and logical with your argument in this assignment. I've done the first one for you as an example, which we'll look at in a minute, but let's just look at the materials needed. So you will need to have read Big Pharma, Easter's End, and you'll need to access this image. So you can click this link, and this will take you apparently nowhere. This will take you to an image that I will fix for you. It is an image of a PETA advertisement. So once you access that, you'll just need to look at it, examine it for ethos, logos, and pathos, and then you can then use that for this worksheet. So for this, I have it categorized here as ethos, logos, and pathos. And then we have each reading or text that we'll be working with. So selection from Bad Pharma, Easter's End, and the advertisement. So here's my example. And I will say, when we're talking about argument, it's arguable. So you may or may not agree with my claim, but this is sort of an example of what I'm looking for. Bad Pharma employs credibility in that the author is well established in his field and references his own professional and personal experiences in the text. So here I would highlight that he employs credibility in yellow. And then my argument is that it's well established in his field because he references his own professional and personal experiences in the text. So I'd highlight that in blue. And you can say something maybe a little bit more accurate or interesting about this. I'm being a little bit vague just because I don't want to hand over the answers to you. But you could say something like Bad Pharma employs credibility and that the author is well established in his field and references his own personal and professional experiences in the text, which enhance his argument, right? Or prove that his argument is accurate. You could even take it a step further. But for right now, I'm really just looking to make sure that you understand what ethos is and that how it plays out in the text. So, quote, I like to speak with people who disagree with me to try to change their behavior and to understand their position better. So I talk to rooms full of science journalists about problems in science journalism, rooms full of homeopaths about how homeopathy doesn't work, and rooms full of people from Big Pharma about the bad things they do. So this is just a quote that supports my claim. And this is super important because we can never make a claim without supporting it with evidence from the text. This is critical. And the reason why I'm having you provide a quote is because I'm going to ask you to have textual evidence for every claim you make in your essay. So we might as well go ahead and start getting used to that now. So for each text you'll move through, you'll look for, you'll make a claim about ethos in Easter's End and provide a quote. You'll make a claim about the advertisement, which you'll be able to access more easily when I fix the link. And then instead of providing a quote, you can describe what it is in the advertisement. So this particular advertisement has a woman in sort of a distressed position. So you could describe what she's doing. So rather than having a quote, you can just sort of talk about what's going on in the advertisement. That is A-okay. And then you can move through logos, same thing, Bad Pharma, Easter's End, the advertisement, pathos, Bad Pharma, Easter's End, and advertisement. The grading rubric is down here, 17 points for assignment completion. Each text was addressed and requirements of the assignment are complete, and the assignment was submitted on time. 16.5 points for the explanation or your claim. The explanation addressed the rhetorical appeal and included an argument. And the explanation highlighted the rhetorical appeal and the argument. And by highlight, I mean literally yellow and blue. And then lastly, 16.5 for the quote. The quote sufficiently provided evidence for the argument, and it is clear that the student read and understands the context of the quote. So this is your assignment. So you can fill this out in the Word document, save it, and then you can go back into the module, click this link here, and you can upload it by hitting Browse My Computer and just attaching it attaching the document here. So that's that for the assignment. Let's get into your essay prompt. So for the essay assignment, you will compose a research-based argument in APA style on a topic of your choice from Room for Debate. This should be 650 to 1,000 words. Room for Debate is an online forum of ongoing conversations about contemporary issues, courtesy of the New York Times. In Room for Debate, the Times invites knowledgeable outside contributors to discuss news events and other timely issues. These exciting multimedia debates provide students a chance to engage with sources as they exist in conversation with one another and to join the conversation. And this is really important. This sort of goes back to what I was talking about in our assignment, to join the conversation. When we make a claim, we are joining a conversation. People are already talking about these things all the time. Let's just use Big Pharma as an example. That book's been published. People have been talking about it now for quite some time. When we make a claim, we insert our ideas into the existing conversation. And hopefully when we do that, we're saying something new. So this is your chance to say something new about a conversation already happening. This essay encourages you to join a conversation on Room for Debate by analyzing contributors' viewpoints, assessing how and where your own views and experiences relate to those you have encountered in the readings, develop an argumentative thesis statement, and crafting an argument supported with evidence from at least 4 Room for Debate contributors. If you do have a hard time in Room for Debate finding something maybe a little more current or relevant, you are welcome to move through the Times and find other op-eds or articles that support your point. That's fine with me. Once you have selected a conversation to join, familiarize yourself with the talking points and formulate your position on the topic as a response to others. To accomplish this, you will read all of the contributors or debaters' articles associated with the topic you selected on Room for Debate, summarize the array of viewpoints on the topic, and synthesize these viewpoints as a means of mapping a field of perspectives. So it's really important for us as writers to understand the current dialogue surrounding issues. So this gives you the opportunity to research and understand it, but then also to summarize the current dialogue so then you can say something new in addition to that. Then over a series of drafts, you will develop a claim based upon your position and support it with evidence exclusively from Room for Debate contributors, or as I said, you can use other Times articles that support it if you can't find something relevant. Things are moving really fast in the world, so I'm okay with that. In order to back up your claims effectively, be sure to summarize or paraphrase and quote sources from Room for Debate according to APA guidelines for citing sources in the text and formatting the list of references. So again, APA format, and you have to provide evidence. Just like in the assignment for this module, you have to be able to take quotes and evidence from your sources and use them to support your claim, because it's never enough just to say something is true. You have to prove it's true. And you guys know this from being in the medical field. You know, medicine and different methods of treatment, they undergo clinical trials, they undergo research, all sorts of different things to make sure that it's actually true and that it can be used. And it's the same thing here. We want to make sure that we put it through the research and we test it out and we have the evidence before we tell the world it's true. Okay, the composition guidelines. Compose in word processing software such as Word. Follow APA guidelines for the mechanics of writing, formatting the document, citing sources in the text, and formatting the list of references. There's a link to the APA guide in your updated syllabus, and there's also a link to APA in the Start Here section of this course. It should be 650 to 1,000 words, 650 minimum, 12-point font Times New Roman or Cambria. Submission guidelines. Please submit your final draft on Blackboard by attaching it as a .doc or a .docx file. Please make sure you attach it as a document. Do not compose it in the Blackboard content editor. You should save the file as English 101 _ last name _ first name. So it'll look something like this, but with your name and no quotation marks. And the deadline is available on this schedule. This essay is worth 1,000 points. You can access the essay rubric here. You can look at this on your own time. We can talk about it a little more thoroughly later, but do know that it is available there, and you should familiarize yourself with the rubric. I use the rubric to grade your essay. So you should be using the rubric to write your essay. It's like kind of the answer key in some ways. And then here are links to some of your other sources, such as Room for Debate and also the Writing Center. So whether or not you're in Wilmington, you can use the Writing Center. You can make an appointment to see them face to face. They also have online writing and learning. So you can go to this link and you can submit your papers for a writing consultation response, which means they'll look at it and then send it back to you, which is really cool. And then lastly, here we have your resources and next steps. So you can look at those at your own time. And that is your module. If you have questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, we will just get to work in and start thinking about our essays and working on our assignments. Have a great week, and I will hope to hear from you soon. Bye.